Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to be continuing on our cinematics journey. Today, I have here with me my friend and my colleague Sumit Paul Arjun.
Hey there.
Hey there.
So, let's get started. All right. Last time we learned how to actually add point lights and adjust the colors and its intensity. And I showed you guys how to scale, rotate, and add different keyframes for different transforms in the sequencer. Today, I'm going to be touching more on lighting and environments. So first things first, uh, there are a few ways to do the environment. You can actually make a 3D environment, actually place assets and make a 3D environment. And if you yeah, and if your project requires 3D environment, you can opt for that. But you can also use something called HDRIs. So I'm going to briefly show you what are HDRIs. You can get HDRIs from HDRI Heaven or Polyhaven, my bad. I'll link it in the description. So here you can see you have a lot of HDRIs, and I'm going to go for something outdoors. You can choose anything that you want, like this. If I select this, you're going to see this is a 360-degree image. You can also view it in 3D here. It's gonna take a bit to load, I guess. Yeah, you can rotate around and see this is a 360-degree capture. And what we can do is we can bring this into Unreal Engine, and you have to select it in HDR for it to work. And you can go for all the way up to 20K. And I usually prefer 4K or 8K for our purposes. So you can download it from here. But I actually have a few of the HDRIs here. I already brought them in. You can just simply drag and drop them in from your file explorer. So after you have imported your HDRIs, what you're going to need to do is go to the plugins and search for HDRI. Then you're going to see this HDRI backdrop. Just enable this, and it's going to ask you to restart here. Just restart the engine. It's going to do some shader compilations, and then after that, you're going to have to go to the the place actors panel. You can click on here and just search for HDRI. You should have this here. Then from here, what you have to do is just you can drag and drop this onto your scene. I'm just going to quickly get out of the camera so you can see we have a HDRI in our world. So I'm just going to roughly place it here.
The
And
HDRI is for the better lighting, right?
yeah, HDRI can also take care of lighting, environmental lighting, but
Hmm.
you can use it as a background. Like
Okay.
if you don't want to populate your world all the way through, you can add a HDRI. This is going to also add a skybox as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
this actually helps to light your scene and make the backgrounds look a little bit better.
Okay.
So I'm just going to select one of these from here. This should work. Let's view it from the camera angle. Yeah. Let me quickly just get rid of these colors, because we're not going to be using this right now. All right. And I'm also going to get rid of this cube here. All right. So when you have your HDRI, you can select this from your outliner, and you can see you have a bunch of settings. You can tweak the size from here. I can make it like 1500, and it's going to change the size. You can view it from here. It now takes up a way larger area. If I revert it back, and you can see the difference. So another thing what you can do is you can actually rotate this so you get a different perspective. So I'm going to be rotating it from here. Maybe something like this. Yeah, this can work. All right. So you have other functions as well here. You can change the intensity of your HDRI. So you can see this is going to actually affect your lighting. If you set it to very high, it's going to affect your scene more. For our purposes, I'm just going to be keeping it at 2. That should be fine. And you don't really need to worry about all of these projection centers. I mean, these are useful when you're like trying to get the position right down to where you want it to be. In that case, this is useful, but for our beginner tutorial, we don't need to worry about that. All right. So you can see it actually changed our perspective a lot. You can see it was bland. Now, boom, you have a background here to play with. So, and from here, I'm going to actually work on the lighting just a little bit. So, because this looks very, very bright now, bright and washed out. So I'm just going to select my camera
Hey,
and
Brazil, I had a question.
yeah, sure. Go for it.
Does this HDRI backdrop also, acts as your environment and which results in, having all sorts of reflections?
Yeah, this is going to affect your reflections as well. Um,
Uh,
yeah, but it's like I'll tell you this is no replacement for actual 3D scene. It's always better to
mhm.
have something 3D rather than a static image. So I mean, it's just a quick way to make a scene look better, but it's
All
no
right.
replacement for actual 3D environment.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to go and look for exposure. And from the exposure metering mode is set to auto exposure histogram, and I'm going to change it to manual. So everything is dark right now. What I'm going to do is bring up the compensation to something like 8.3. So you can already tell the difference if I disable this and enable it again. You can see the difference here.
It looks more photorealistic.
I wouldn't say photorealistic. This makes it a little bit more controlled
Yeah.
because the exposure is not actually automatically adjusting. Uh, in Unreal, like the exposure settings, they actually automatically adjust based on whichever light source is in screen, or whichever light source is affecting the screen. If the intensity of the light source is very high, Unreal is going to dial down the exposure and just to make it look normal to our eyes. Just how our eyes work in real world. When you go outside and the light is bright, our eyes actually adjust and adjust for the bright light, and if you go to a dark environment, our eyes also adjust. So it's just like that. But we don't want this we don't want this changing exposure in our cinematics. We try to keep it at a constant. So that's why we're opting for a manual exposure mode. All right. So with the exposure calibrated, we can also go to Vignette. You can search for Vignette from here, and you can enable this and change the Vignette intensity. You can look this actually darkens the edges of the screen, so you can focus a bit more on the subject that you have. So this actually increases, like, the focus on the subject. So in cinematography, we need vignetting to emphasize on a character more, so your focus stays on there. So it can make a scene moody based on how much vignette you have. So I'm just going to keep it as something around 7ish. Yeah, this looks okay. So this already changed our scene. You can see the difference from here to here. I didn't change the settings on the camera one, or just the camera two. All right. So these are the few like minor visual tweaks that you can do to actually make your cinematics look better. Also, you can see a few things that I did. If you look at the framing here, I actually tried to reduce blank frames up top of the head of the mannequin. So this is actually used in cinematography to actually make the scenes more pleasing to look at, because if you have blank space up top, this doesn't look so good. I can actually show you an example of this. So if I just dolly up from the camera, oh my bad, dolly it down. So you can see if I have this much blank space, the scene does not look as good. So if I go back to something around here, this looks much better, because you have your subject more in the foreground and, like, less dead space here. So a cool trick to remember. So you can use a lot of the different settings from here to actually make your scene look more towards cinematics. So I tend to use the bloom settings from here. This actually, yeah. So in the bloom settings, you can go to the method and change it to convolution. This is going to change it just a little bit. Um, and you can change the intensity of the bloom. You can actually see on the edges here, you get this nice bloom around the bright parts of the screen.
Hey, Prasu, I had another question.
Yeah.
Why do we use convolution bloom method instead of the other one? Yeah,
So you can
instead of the standard one.
Yeah. So as you can see, if I increase or decrease the bloom, you can see, like, how it's, like, adjusting the entire image, right?
Hmm.
And
The
it's
exposure,
making,
it's
yeah, it's making the image more bright, the entire image more bright. But when I switch to convolution, it only affects the areas that are, like, the brightest, and, like, it
uh,
gives the contrast the same. It doesn't, like,
mhm.
affect the other areas of the scene as much. So that's why I like to stick to convolution. But in some specific use cases, you can opt for the standard one as well. It's totally up to, like, what you're doing.
So convolution really affects the highlighted areas.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to opt for something like, intensity to be 4, and then you have to have something really, really cool. You have this convolution scatter dispersion. So in this, think of this as, like, how much light can disperse within the air around it. So this is going to give that effect. So if I increase it, you can see it's getting more dreamy, like it's getting that nostalgic feel. So you don't want to use it like too much, like it should be very tastefully used. So I'm going to be keeping this at something like 2.1 or something. This maybe 2.5 or 3, I guess. Yeah, this works. So if I actually disable this, you can see how much difference it makes. So this makes the image softer and gives it this like nostalgic vibe. You're going to notice this in a lot of different movies, like in the Lord of the Rings as well. Like when they have night scenes, they actually opt for a more scattered dispersion for the bloom, so it looks a lot more dreamy, I guess. But moving on, um you have um you have another thing called chromatic aberration. Yeah, chromatic aberration. So what it actually does is you can see on the edges of the character, you can actually see it's separating it's separating the red, green, and blue channel on the edges. So this is a natural phenomenon that is like that is that you see on actual digital cameras. So I'm just going to search for chromat chromatic aberration. So you can actually see this in actual real life cameras. So in Unreal, you can add this chromatic aberration, so it looks like this has been shot with a actual camera rather than looking like something rendered. So we want imperfections. So you can actually change the start offset. You can see how much it's affecting based on the start offset. So I'm going to use it very very tastefully, like not go too overboard with it. You can go overboard with it, but then it looks bad. So I'm just going to keep it at 1.48. So you can do all of these changes inside your camera, but also we have something called a post process volume. So if I bring this in and change it to unbound, then this is going to affect the actual world, even if you're not inside a camera. So this is actually handy, because you sometimes you might not want to change everything through the camera settings, or rather just change it in the post process volume so that it affects all the cameras. So what you can actually do is go to your bloom settings and do the same thing here. I'm going to just do the same thing, set it to 3, and maybe set this to 3 as well, and go to the Vignette, 7ish, with the chromatic position was 1.48. That is something like this, I guess. Now what I can actually do is, oh, I didn't change the exposure. Let me do that. So if I go to the camera and disable all of this here, chromatic elevation, the bloom. You can see the post process volume is actually affecting the scene now. If I hide it, it's going to go back, and if I enable it, this is going to affect the camera. So what this does is we can get the same effect on this camera as well. We don't have to tweak it for multiple camera. See? So there are a bunch of different options for the for color corrections even inside Unreal Engine. So inside the yeah, inside the color grading, first thing you're going to see is a white balance, and sorry, the temperature type is set to white balance, and you can also set it to color temperature as well, but we're going to stick with white balance. And you can actually change the temperature here. So more the temperature, the warmer the image gets, and the less the temperature, the cooler the image gets. So I'm just going to make this just a little bit warmer so it matches the background. All right. So inside this color grading tab, you have your global, shadows, midtones, highlights, and miscellaneous. So what I'm going to do is go to the global and enable the saturation, and I can actually increase the saturation. You can see increase or decrease the saturation. You can actually just like a photo editing app, you can actually photo or video editing app, you can actually color grade your images or your renders from here. So I'm just going to stick with something like this 1.1, and I can actually drag this slider to actually focus on which color to actually saturate more or which color to exclude. So you can actually adjust this. This works like sort of like a tint, I guess.
So, does it work like a tint filter?
Not like a
The
yeah, I guess you can call it a filter, like in your in your camera app, I guess. Almost
Mhm.
works like a filter. So in here you also have your contrast. I can increase or decrease the contrast. So what contrast does is it what a contrast does is going to increase the difference between the blackest point and the whitest point in your in your scene. So whatever you have dark is going to get darker, and whatever you have white is going to get whiter. So you can see. So if I decrease it, you don't even see the difference between the white or black, and if I increase it, the difference accentuates. So you can see. So in my use case, I think something like 0.9, maybe 0.98. Yeah, this looks good. This brightens up the scene. Or you can also use this color slider to get, like, this effect. You can add a color filter to your contrast, so you can get different sort of effects here. Oh, this looks good. I can stick to this. Also, you can adjust your gamma as well. So yeah, there's a bunch of different settings that you can adjust.
this
So
scene does have a nice dreamy look to it.
yeah, so you can just manually adjust the colors from your camera just like this. So all the adjustments that I did, you can also do the same thing on your post-process volume as well. You don't need to do it on the camera. But yeah, but I actually prefer to do this on a post-production rather than doing this on Unreal Engine itself, because it gives you a little bit more flexibility if you render the raw images rather than the color corrected images in Unreal. Because you'd have to, like, if you don't like something, you'd have to render it again. But inside a video editing app, you can actually edit this however you want, and like, you don't have to re-render everything again. So I'm just going to quickly show you the difference. So I'm just going to quickly enable and disable this. So you guys can see what difference this makes. So I'm not saying, like, you guys have to like, do this, and you can actually, like, go for whatever you like. So just like the global settings are going to affect everything in your scene, but you can actually control the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights separately. So if I go to the shadows, I can increase the saturation of the shadows. You can see in the shadows, the shadows are more lively now. You can see, like, the colors. It just, like, brightens up the shadowed areas. So if I decrease it, increase and decrease it, you can actually see what difference it makes. You can also, like, play around with the colors, like this. I think something like this looks good. All right. For the contrast, you can actually change the contrast of only the shadows. You can see this only affects the shadows. All right. You can increase or decrease the contrast of the shadows from here. And in the gamma as well, same thing here. You can change the gamma of the shadows from here. All right. And same thing for the gain as well. You can change the color and you can boost it from here as well. Oh, another cool thing that I forgot to touch is you can actually do a color offset here as well. So if I increase the intensity, all the shadows are red now. You can change it to blue. I mean, the possibilities are limitless. It's up to you, the artist, to make, like, whatever you want. And same thing goes for the midtones as well. It's going to affect only the midtones. You can see it's affecting the trees over there. So I'm going to opt for something looks like this. Increase this. And you can also change the contrast of this from here as well. Same thing goes for the highlight as well. You can actually adjust the highlights. You can actually see this highlights, like, on the head of the mannequin, where it's the brightest. You can change the color of that as well. So I think something warm looks better. Not too much, something like this. Yeah. You can also change the contrast like this. So you can actually see it's affecting this highlighted area. Also this. But you're going to see, like, you're going to lose a lot of details if you increase it too much. I'm just going to keep this here. You can also change the gamma. You can really see it here. But I'm not going to change this for now. All right, that's it for the camera adjustments. So I actually wanted to touch more about lighting your scene. So there are a bunch of different ways to light your scene actually. So inside of Unreal Engine, I mean, not just inside of Unreal Engine, this also goes same for if you actually want to light a subject in the real world as well. The rules apply everywhere, even inside Unreal Engine. So I'm just going to quickly demonstrate what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to get out of this camera real quick, and I'm going to get a cube here. I'm just going to make a simple room. All right. Can get rid of the HDRI for now. Okay. So if I go back to my camera, this doesn't look too good now because the scene was adjusted for the outside environment. So I'm just going to do a little bit of tweaking so it looks better. So I'm just going to go to the color grading options. I'm just going to disable the tweaks that I did. All right. Then what I'm going to do is change the, oh, not here, in the post process volume. What I'm going to do is change the exposure. Maybe something like 3 or 4, I guess. Yeah, 4 works fine. All right. So in here, what I actually like to do when I do preview scenes, I like to select my camera and have it pinned in here, so I can have a little preview here. Just going to get rid of this place actors panel and make the screen just a little bit bigger. All right. So as you can see in this scene, we only have one light that's affecting our camera. So if I disable this, you can see. If I re-enable this, you can see how it's affecting the screen. So okay, let me just hide this light. Okay, in terms of lighting a scene, you have a bunch of different lights. uh you have the point light, you have the spotlight, you have the rec light. So these three come in handy when you're actually doing something indoors, and this directional light is only for the outdoor lighting. So if you want to do lighting in do a studio light setup, you can go for the direct light here. If I rotate it and bring it here, the face, you can actually see here how it's affecting it. So I'm just going to put it here. So this can act as a rim light. This looks okay. And you can actually have a bunch of different lights here, but I trying to go with, like, as less light sources if I can, because when you add more layers, it's going to be harder for you to actually make the scene look good. So just use your creativity to make something look good using less light sources, and this actually makes your scene better. A lot of the times beginners actually mistake, they think more like, more the merrier. If I add more lights, the scene is automatically going to, like, look good, but that doesn't work. So because this light that I placed here, this is sitting at the bottom and, like, facing upwards towards our mannequin, we can call this a rim light. And if I just duplicate this, and just do something like this, fire this light straight onto the face, this is going to be your fill light. And yeah, because this is going to be filling the most of our face, so this is going to be our fill light. So what you can actually do is you can make a light up top that actually highlights the structure of the head from above. So what I can do is make something like this that comes from behind, just like this. So if I go back to my camera, yeah, you can, okay, let me just fix the focus. All right, you can actually see how these lights affect your character. If I switch back to the camera too, you can also see how the top light is, like, affecting the uh, top of your, like, head, and, like, the rim light is firing from downwards. I can actually disable and enable and disable these, so you can actually see what each light is doing. So if I disable this, you can see we lose this light from here on the bottom. So this light actually highlights the curvatures from downwards, and this is our fill light. This actually, if we disable this, you can see this, like, this light was filling the entire face and lighting up the entire face. If we disable this, this is not going to look like, too good. So based on your scenario, you can offer a fill light, but it's not necessary to always have a fill light, but, like, in a studio, in a studio environment, you usually have a fill light. So I'm going to have this enabled, and if I enable and disable this, you can see what the light from above is doing. So it's just like, adding just a little bit of contrast up top. So what I can actually do is I can change the color of this light just a little bit. So this, like, brings just a little bit contrast. What I can do is I might just move this light just a little bit so it looks better. Yeah, doesn't look too bad. Yeah. And what you can also do is you can play with the rim light as well. So if you make it just a little bit warmer in here, so you can see, like, you get a lot of separation. Like, in this blue light and this red light, these are, like, these two like create a huge contrast. So you can see the difference here if I disable all the lights and if I enable all the lights, how much it affects the scene. So this is the usual approach that you go for if you want to actually light up a face in a studio environment. And you can also have a light that lights the background as well. I'm just going to quickly show you how you can do that. So if I bring this point light and place it behind, I'm just going to dial down the intensity to maybe like 0.7. Yeah, you can see how it's affecting the background. You can make it different color, just like this. Also, what you can do is you can reduce the attenuation radius so it does not affect a huge area. I'm going to use this opportunity to actually show you what the attenuation radius does. You can see if I increase or decrease it, this is going to change the area the light is affecting. I'm just going to increase the intensity for now so that you guys can see it better. So just like this. So this is like affecting the area more, and like, and if I decrease it, this affects uh this affects a very short area. So if I go back to my camera and change this to maybe like 0.7, maybe 1, I guess 1 doesn't look too bad. Search for it. So you can actually play with the colors, like you can find like what works best for your lighting condition. So I think I'm just going to stick with something orangish. Yeah, this works. All right, I'm just going to disable all the lights and see how much difference it makes. See, so this is without the background light. This is how it looks. And if I disable the rim light, this actually takes away the details from here. And if I disable the fill light, you cannot see the face too well. And if I disable the light up top, you cannot see the contrast, like the structure of the face too well. So all of these lights have their own purposes, and you can actually like play with these lights to like however uh you want to make your scene look like.
Okay. So what does it make difference when we move the lights?
What do you mean?
If we move the lights on the background or others, does it make any difference, or how does it look
Yeah,
like?
it's going to make a difference. If I move it closer, it's going to like affect the face more. If I, let's say, if I move this light, like you can see if I move this down,
Yeah, there's more reflections also.
I mean this looks better actually. If I move this down, yeah, this creates like this contrast here, you can see. I'm going to keep it at here. So you can actually like move your, you can actually move this light as well. As you can see, this is the fill light. You can move this and make it like a lot more moody from here.
Yeah.
But like if you move the fill light down like this is just going to act like a rim light. So you
Oh.
can like yeah, like
Yeah.
move this like this. But you can see like one cool thing. If you move the slide downwards, it it kind of looks like this mannequin is like moving its head up and looking kind of down at you. Like this makes the effect like changes the like mood of the scene.
Expression like.
Yeah. So I mean this doesn't look like too bad if I put it here as well. So can you can also, yeah, you can also change this as well. You can change the initial rim line that we had. So you can move it like up or down. You can see like how it's affecting the sides. Are you seeing that, Arjun?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's better to like keep it like something around here. So you can actually see how it's affecting our scene. So with something like this, now we have something that looks like it has been shot from a proper studio.
Yeah.
And also like you can actually like make this look even better. You have all those color grading options. You can also play with the bloom as well, and you can also play with the lenses actually to make it like a lot more pleasing. So it's just an artistic choice, like whatever you want to opt for. So Arjun, do you have any other questions like for the lighting?
No, it looks good though. So far
All
I
right.
have understood.
All right, let's say like let's say you're not taking a photo and you want to like make this look you just want to make this scene look not so static and have like some moving parts to it. So what you can actually do is what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to my Quixel bridge. You can find it on the window and like from here, and then I'm just going to look up whatever assets that I have. I don't think any of this is too useful, but let's see if I can find a fan. Yeah, this works. Okay, let's use this one. Let's download this. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add this blade here. So you're going to learn how to play with shadows actually. Just going to get out of this camera so I can get a better view. Pin this here. Okay, you can bring this fan blade up here and give it a transform. So what I'm going to do is add a rotation here, and then on the like this. Okay, then on the sorry my bad. Then on the roll, what I'm going to do is make this something maybe 1000, and that should do. Oh, it's too fast. Okay, what I need to do is I'm just going to make this. I just want it to be linearly moving, not cubic. So I'm going to change this to linear. So still too fast. Still 500. Oh, all right, let's see. Yeah, this looks better. Let's look at this now. Yeah, much more control. So this is how you can actually convert your static scene into a moving, so it's not like, static anymore. All right, let's do a quick preview. Camera 2. Yeah, perfect. You can also play around with fog to make this like, a lot more lively. So that it looks like, the scene is moving. So what I can actually do is I I do have a plugin for this. So if I go to my Epic Games, to my library, I'm just going to search for Easy Fog. You can, yeah, you can get this Easy Fog add-on. This is from William Forshare. This is a very handy tool to have. Like, if you want to add fog to your scene, like, this is pretty cheap, and like, this lets you customize your scene really really quickly. This can add a lot of depth to your scene, and you can use it in your environments as well. It doesn't need to be inside the interiors that I'm using it for. You can use it for outdoors as well. This is a really cool plugin, so just check it out. So I'm just going to add it to my project here, and you'd have it here under Easy Fog. Let's just go to blueprints. Yeah, there you have it. So it's not necessary that you have Easy Fog. You can actually go to Google and just download a fog texture, and you can like use it from there. But for my purposes, I'm just going to stick with Easy Fog. I cannot actually see it from here. Going to rotate this. Go. It was smaller. No, I cannot actually see. I think it's because of the exposure. Exposure is too low. We can actually increase the emissive intensities. Yeah, now we can see the fog. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, this looks much better now. And in this easy fog, um, you can actually change the wind speed. It's set to static now, and I can enable wind. I'm just going to increase the noise tiling. Oh, it's too much. Just check it out from outside. Okay, the wind speed is too much. I think you can scale it so you can see it a little bit better. Yeah. So we cannot see the moving effect too much, but what you can do is actually just bring in this easy fog component here. I can actually go to the transform and we can add a manual transform to it so it looks like this is moving. So I'm just going to disable this wind for now. So you kind of have this scrolling fog effect. I think if I put this somewhere around here, this might look better. Change this as well. Yeah, it's a little bit too fast, but I can make it slower, just like so. I think this should be even slower. Let's look at it now. So you can see how this adds to the scene, makes it look a lot more lively. You can actually adjust the color of the fog. So what I can actually do is make it just a little bit towards the red, so it matches the environment. So you can see how this affects your scene. So we went from a very boring static scene to a scene that has now moving elements, and this looks yeah, this looks much better. I can do it. I can increase this. Let's have a look now. Yeah, this looks so much better now. So this is how you can actually customize your scene and just make a static scene look like this is a moving scene. So this is how you can add life to your static scenes. Let's say you're having you have your character that's like, talking, like, just looking at the camera. You can add these background effects to make the shot look a lot more lively. So yeah, I guess that's it for today. Arjun, do you have any other questions?
Mm, I guess no. Okay, there's a when we add the fan, the shadow of the fan is a bit more,
Yeah, can you explain?
it's mm, uh it's more invisible right now because of the shadow. Can we change that or can we highlight
You
the shadow more?
you want to make the shadow look a bit more
Yeah,
uh
yeah.
okay. Let me see what I can do about. Let's get out of the camera, and I'm just going to pin this. So you're talking about the shadow is too soft now, right? You want to make the
Yeah,
shadow
yeah.
a bit more profound.
Yeah.
So in that case, we can actually bring in a light. Bring in a Yeah, on the place actors panel, we can bring in a spotlight here and just point it towards, yeah, but just point it towards the fan, just like this. And I'm just going to increase the intensity here. Let me bring up the camera again. So, just like this. So you can now see the shadow, right? See, now it's like, it looks a lot more profound, right? Arjun, are you there?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
more visible now, yeah. And
Yeah.
looks more better, you know?
Mm-hmm. So what I can do is actually adjust the position of the light, so it's going to affect the shadow. So as you can see, like, if I bring it closer and, like, if I move it like, backwards, you can actually see how it affects.
The shadow.
Uh, yeah, affects the shadow. So, like, this is all cool and all, but the problem with this is uh this actually is if affecting, like, our mannequin and the environment as well. But, like,
Yeah,
we
the
already
fog
see,
also.
yeah, we already set up a lighting, and we do not want to affect this light, right? This light to be
Yeah, yeah.
affecting, like, all the other elements. So there's a cool thing in Unreal where you can actually assign lighting channels, right? So
Okay.
if I assign channel 1 and disable all the other channels, see, like, these objects, like, all of these objects, they have a lighting channel of 0. If I enable this is going to affect this light is going to affect this fan. If I disable this, it's not affecting it. See?
Yeah.
And what I can actually do is I can also do the same thing for the wall. So this only Yeah, so this only affects the wall and the fan, and does not affect so it does not affect the fog and the character. So as you can see here, and I'm just going to drag down the intensity just a tad bit, because I think this is too much. So you can already notice, I think I'll just switch to the camera. See, if I increase the intensity or like decrease it, it's not affecting the character directly. Only the bounce light that is coming off from this wall that is affecting it, but it's not affecting it directly. So you can see how this affects our entire scene now. You can see the fan blaze better, but I think uh, if we make this a little bit softer, this is going to look better. Spotlight. Okay, so I just want to make this. So if you increase your source radius, is going to make it a lot softer. So I'm just going to set it to 1, so you can see now. All right. I think I actually accidentally disabled the fog. I'm just going to enable it again. So you can see how this is affecting the entire scene.
Yep.
Also, one more thing, you can add light flickering effects to make this like way more interesting. So I think I'm just going to do that. So if I search for my rect lights, and I'm just going to affect this top light. So if we go down to our details panel, we have something called a light function. So what this actually does is you can actually control the light using a material. So I'm just going to do a quick rundown on how you can actually make a light material. Just click on here, just click on material. I'm going to choose cinematics as my folder. I'm just going to call it LF flicker, and this should create a material. So in here, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the material domain and change the material domain to a light function. So all the other channels are blocked off now. We only have the emissive color. So we have to have this set to light function in order for this material to work. So let's get started. Okay, first thing, I'm going to search for a sine node. Then I'm going to add a time to the sine, and then I can use a multiply so that I can control the intensity. So as you can see, this is going to actually increase the intensity of the light. And in here, what you can do is you can add another multiply. Maybe set this to 2. Yeah, you can add this so you can actually increase the flicker rate. So I'm just going to be keeping this at, I don't know, 0.8. All right, this should do it for our flickering light. So as you can see, the light is now flickering. So these are the different ways that you can make your scene look a lot more lively. So Arjun, do you have any other questions?
No.
All right, I think that's gonna be it for today. I'll meet you guys on the next episode. I'm going to touch a bit more on actually uh, adding animations and how to actually make a short film using Unreal Engine. Yeah. Until then, take care, guys. Bye bye.
Bye bye.